Hello, everyone. Welcome. And hello to those who came to my booth and said that they were going to come as well. You guys are going to get so much information today in terms of newborn sleep. So, if you've been to the Sleep of Mind booth, this is where you can take out that download. If you haven't been there, you can quickly pop over if you want, or you can go afterwards and just take notes. I've got an awesome download that's everything about newborn sleep that you're going to want to know. And I'm going to expand on all of those tips. So, what you're getting in the download is a really great reminder of these tips. But I'm going to go through everything and anything that you would want to know that you were never told about newborn sleep and how to make sure that your newborn sleeps as well as possible so you can get the rest that you need and they can get the rest that they need. All right. Just a quick intro. I'm Alison Macklin. I'm the owner of Sleep of Mind, and we're a company that aims to give every parent as much peace of mind back, as much reassurance, as much stress and anxiety free of a newborn period as possible through all of our products and our awesome sleep tips. Okay. So in the chat, my lovely colleague Rowena is going to be posting some links for you guys. You can follow us on social media and always stay up to date with the latest and greatest in terms of sleep science, sleep tips for every age, not just newborns, but every age of child, is including adults. We're also posting things safety related, recalls and all that kind of stuff. So absolutely, our goal is to give you as much peace of mind as possible, because when you have peace of mind and when you're stress free, then you and your child can sleep better. Okay. So sorry, I'm coming down with a little thing, so excuse that. So when we want to talk about newborn sleep or any infant sleep, the most important thing is to consider a safe sleep environment. All right. So, in my download and what you can find on the American Academy of Pediatrics website is all of the guidelines around what creates a safe sleep environment, because we want to protect our baby from the risk of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. That's a really real thing. So, I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that because there's a lot of information already out there, and all that information is really great, especially if you're getting it from the AAP's website. Make sure that you're getting it from there versus any other source. But essentially, you want an environment where if it's a crib or a bassinet, it's free and clear of anything. So no bumpers, not even the mesh liners, no toys, no blankets, no cameras. Please don't put your video camera in there either, but it has to be free and clear of everything and anything. And just a fitted sheet and your baby is all you want in that safe sleep environment. However, that said, that protects against, some of the risks of SIDS. Babies don't really like that sleep environment. I'm going to be brutally honest with you through this entire conversation, because no one was brutally honest with me when I had my daughter all those years ago. Babies come from the womb. They come from this small, little, tight, confined space that is completely different than a barren crib, okay, or bassinet, right? And that's one of the reasons why we like bassinets, is because it's a smaller, confined space, and that's what babies are used to. So if you're ever wondering, why do we put babies in a bassinet? Bassinets offer that smaller, confined sleep space, all right? And that stimulates the womb. And that's one little hint. That's one tip towards helping your newborn sleep better. So you want to recreate the womb as much as you possibly can while still staying in that safe sleep, kind of AAP approved environment. So a bassinet is a really great thing to use. And then also, let's think about some of the sleep principles that work actually for every human. Darkness, all right? Darkness is actually really important for newborns. You think about them in the womb right now. A lot of you I know are pregnant with your first. It's not bright in there. It's very dark. They can't see anything. And that's all they've ever known. So when they're going to sleep, sleep is a very vulnerable state for all humans. You really want to make your child feel as safe and secure as possible. So being in a pitch black environment is actually extremely comforting for them. Okay. Contrary to potentially popular belief, they don't get afraid of the dark. Okay, that doesn't happen until a child is about 2.5 or older. All right, 2.5 years old. So a newborn has absolutely no fear of the dark. That's actually what brings them comfort, because that's where they just came from. So please keep the sleep space as dark as you possibly can get it. I was talking to somebody the other day. If you don't have the funds for really awesome blackout treatment, garbage bags and painter's tape. It's super simple. Okay. Um, you know, the next thing that you want to consider is, well, what about telling day from night? So, what about day night confusion? Yes. So, when your baby is awake and when it's time to be awake, changing them, feeding them, all of that can happen right next to a window where they can see that daylight. And it is really important to set their circadian rhythm. So, making sure that you get outside or that you get close to a window whenever they are awake is really going to help that. And it's going to help fix that sort of day night confusion that a lot of newborns are born with. But when it's time for sleep, they're going to get much better sleep, much more restorative sleep, longer sleep periods in the dark. You also want to make sure that you are using white noise. And I think a lot of parents are familiar with that these days. And don't worry, your infant will not become addicted to white noise. Okay. I recommend white noise for every and any age. It really does help the brain get better, more deep quality, more restorative sleep. All right. So we think about all the noises that are happening throughout the house and outside and all that kind of stuff. To an infant who doesn't really know much about this world, all of it is really interesting. They always want to know, what is that? Like, what is a dog? I don't even know what a dog is. And they hear the dog barking, right? All of these noises, the garbage truck, the lawnmower, the TV, all of these noises can become really, really interesting and stimulating and overstimulating for a newborn. So with the white noise, not only does it help replicate that environment that they just came from in the womb, so it's making them, again, feel safer and more secure, but it's also getting rid of all of those noises that they're going to be really interested and curious about while they're asleep. You can teach them about what the noises are about and all that kind of stuff later when they're awake. You can show them the pet dog. You can show them, daddy mowing the lawn or whatever you want to do. But while they're asleep, it's best that they focus on sleep. So it's best that their brain not be constantly trying to assess what noises these are, because their brain, just like ours, is constantly assessing auditory cues while they're sleeping. And if you're forcing your child to do more work than they need to, i.e., letting them hear all those noises, absolutely, you want children to be able to sleep with noise, but you don't want your child to have to constantly be doing work to assess whether this noise is a dangerous noise and they should wake up for it, or whether it's a regular familiar noise like their siblings running around and that they shouldn't wake up for it. And so the white noise is really going to help them get much more deep restorative sleep, because their brain won't be constantly working to figure out what these noises are that are going on around them. Other thing that you want to consider is temperature. So you actually want a temperature that's much cooler. Now, this is the only thing that doesn't quite jive with the womb. And it's really just because now they're becoming a bit of a different human than when they were in the womb. They're becoming a lot closer to how we were many, many, many ages ago, when we slept in caves. So anyone dealing with sleep issues, insomnia, and all that kind of stuff, we always recommend making your bedroom very cave-like. And this is also very similar for how infants and newborns sleep as well. The coolness of the room really does help to cue certain sleepy hormones and things like that within the newborn. And also it helps with preventing the risk of overheating, because that's one of the elements of SIDS. We really don't want infants to be getting too hot. They cannot regulate their body temperature at this age. And so you want to make sure that their body temperature is staying in a good place, so that they're not overheating, that they're not in that danger zone of SIDS, and also that they're going to get better sleep. So the temperature that I recommend is about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 degrees Celsius. If you can't get your infant's bedroom that cool, you can use a fan to circulate the air. And you can also use just lighter undergarments, for example, instead of a long sleeve footed, pajama underneath. then maybe you're just doing like a short sleeve bodysuit, or if you're in a climate that's really warm and you don't really have great air conditioning or any at all, then, maybe it's just the swaddle and diaper and that's it. Okay. So those are some of my best sleep environment tips. Yeah, cold actually helps with sleep 100%. Humidifier, really, really great, especially in the wintertime. And if you're in a dry climate, it doesn't help with sleep though. It helps more so with symptoms if your child is sick in any way. So you want to help them be more comfortable that way, and that will help them get better sleep. But the humidifier in and of itself isn't going to promote more sleep unless there's some sort of issue going on, an illness, etc. Sorry. So I want to quickly go over some tips when your baby hates the bassinet, okay? Because this is a very common thing that nobody really warns anyone about. Everyone just says, oh yeah, just put them in the bassinet and they'll sleep. But what happens if they don't sleep? Like my daughter, she's never slept. She especially didn't want to sleep if it wasn't touching me, okay? So there are some things that you can do with the bassinet. One of the best tricks though, is to use a swaddle. And I'm going to come back to the swaddle in a second because we've got some over this way, amazing swaddles that just really give you so much peace of mind and are so effective at helping babies sleep. So the swaddle is going to, again, keep your baby in that nice kind of comforted, secure, like a little hug space, just like how they just came from the womb. You want to swaddle them so that they, again, still feel safe and secure. Okay, I'm going to come back to that at the very end. But one of the other things to do is in that swaddle, when you're putting your baby down, and thankfully I got a baby right here. Okay, you've got baby, all right? They're finally asleep. Finally asleep. Don't put your baby down like this, okay? They have a Moro reflex, a startle reflex. When they feel like they're falling backwards, they're going to want to do this. Okay, that's a protective mechanism that we're all born with, and it dissipates with age. But they're going to feel like they're falling backwards. And so if you've worked really hard to get them to sleep, and then you do this, then they're going to wake up. All right. So what you want to do instead, and I apologize, I've got like a lot of things in the way here, so it's not going to be the best example. Instead, what you want to do is you want to get them sideways. Okay. And let's just pretend here is the bassinet. And you want to roll them gently over and into the bassinet. Okay. So when you're putting them down into the bassinet, you're putting them sideways, and then you're rolling them gently, very, very slowly into that sleep position, because we do have to put our babies down on their back. It's one of the biggest guidelines from a SIDS prevention perspective. They're going to sleep on their back, so they have to sleep that way because it's a lot safer. But getting them there, it can be really, really tricky because they don't like being on their back. Okay. They don't feel the safest on their back. Excuse me. Okay. Genesis, do you recommend swaddling them and putting them down on their back? Absolutely. Yes, Rebecca, I know, refuses to go in the bassinet. Totally hear you. And if you're struggling, just keep trying with the bassinet every single time. If you're really, really struggling, get them in the carrier, strap them to you, go for a walk, go to the mall, go to the grocery store, go just about your daily activities, and they will fall asleep and wake up as needed. Okay. I don't want you to stress that you're just not able to get them sleeping in the bassinet consistently. You also need to take care of you. And that also means your mental well-being. And sometimes just being, trapped in the house for, days on end is really not the best place. And if you're not in a good place mentally, baby's not going to be in a good place. They can sense your energy. So go out in the stroller or the carrier as much as you can, get out of the house, get out of that sort of environment of like, gotta constantly put this baby to sleep and they're not sleeping and they don't want to sleep in the bassinet. Allow yourself some time to just go for a really awesome walk, in the woods, or, go visit some friends, do walks together. There's so many things that you can do with baby in the carrier. And you're actually able to keep that kind of womb-like environment because they're nice and wrapped either in your kind of like ergo baby or some sort of like boba wrap type of thing. All right. So in the last little bit, I'm going to get to this most amazing swaddle. And don't worry, all of you who are asking the most amazing questions right now, I will be happy to answer them in our booth at 1 o'clock right after this talk. So I'm going to be doing a lot more. I've got a couple hours straight where I'm going to be answering everyone's questions about sleep because there's really so much more to learn. But let's talk about this swaddle because this is the other component to what is going to get you the best sleep ever and what's going to get your baby the best sleep ever. The magical thing about our swaddle and why it's different than anyone else's is this patent pending world's first design. Okay. This is not just to look pretty. All right. This is to ease all of your anxiety. And so, Juliana, if you want to put up the video, you're going to see what it looks like on a baby monitor. So any baby monitor, any standard monitor or security camera with night vision, you're going to be able to see what that looks like under the baby monitor. And so you're going to be able to see your baby's chest rising and falling. All right. You're going to be able to see that on that screen share. Hopefully you guys can see it right now with me. You're seeing comparison, baby on the left, standard arms up swaddle. Baby on the right has our technology here that allows you to see all the motion that's going on with your baby. Is your baby breathing well? Are they breathing more rapidly? That's not healthy either. Maybe your baby has RSV right now and you've got to be extra vigilant and it's scaring you because you don't want to be alone. You don't want your baby to be sleeping alone. But then that's really the best way that they can get sleep sometimes because we're too distracting. And so as you can see there, the comparison shot, baby on the right, you're able to clearly see her chest rising and falling. That's our lovely baby Charlotte. She's awesome. She's a 6-week-old newborn. And then baby on the left, not so much. Not sure exactly what's going on there. Think she's breathing, but who knows? Baby on the right, I get it. I can see like she's breathing healthy. That's the typical pattern that she breathes in. And you're going to get to know your baby's breathing patterns and what's normal and what's not. So you just have more information. You have all of your anxiety taken away because when you're responsible for that little tiny life, all of a sudden, it is one of the scariest things in the world. It's like learning how to drive for the very first time. It's like, oh my God, I'm responsible for this giant 2,000-pound machine. Yeah, I'm responsible for keeping this little thing alive. And when they are sleeping away from you and you have no more visibility or ability to, to feel the breath or to check, etc., you start having these thoughts in your mind of like, should I check on her? But it just took me an hour to get her to go to sleep. But then what if she's not breathing? So then should I check? But I want her to get her to sleep because she hasn't slept for a while. And then Alison said that if she gets overtired, then she's not going to sleep very well. So it's like this vicious cycle of, do I go in to check or do I not? That's what's happening with baby on the left. That was me years and years ago, caught every single night. And it doesn't just disappear with the newborns. It keeps going for a long time, especially when they're sick, especially when they've been coughing and they're stuffed up and you feel horrible for them. You really want that mind. So the awesome thing is that not only do you get the peace of mind here, but you get it all over here. So let's talk about more peace of mind and how this gives you even more. All of our textiles, so the fabrics, the threads, the zippers, the Velcro, this design are all Ocotex Standard 100 certified and GOTS certified. So what that means is there are no harmful chemicals in the processing, the manufacturing of any part of all of our garments, okay? And you won't have to pay an arm and a leg for them. They're only $45, plus you get 20% off at the Prego Expo. That's amazing. Lots of peace of mind in terms of your baby is sleeping in this thing for 16 to 18 hours a day as a newborn. It's not going to be off-gassing or leaching any harmful chemicals. Now, these standards that I just talked about go above and beyond the FDA standards, go above and beyond anything North America-wide. So we've achieved a much higher standard from a manufacturing perspective to make sure that we're free and clear of all the harmful things that you don't want your baby to have because you've worked really hard to get the best organic lotion and, baby shampoos and all of the things, right? This is going to be on your baby more than anything else. And so we want to make sure that it's safe. So the safety aspects are there. We've got the safest YKK zippers. We've got this belly band that helps your baby feel safe. So now let's start talking about baby. Now, this is also going to help from a sleep perspective as well. When your baby feels safe and secure, like this gentle hug that the band provides, okay, when you wrap your baby this way, it does mimic that slight pressure that baby wants to feel from the womb. Okay, it's not weighted, but by just wrapping it in a fashion where it's just overlapping, you're not tightening it or anything like that. It's giving that baby a little bit of a gentle little hug. Same thing with the arms up format. Okay, the arms up format of the sleep swaddle means that there is a little bit of flexibility and a little bit of a gentle caress on the baby, so that, again, it still feels like it's in the womb, so it still feels like it's protected anytime that your baby is sleeping, but then it calms that Moro reflex. So the Moro reflex doesn't just happen when you're putting your baby down into the crib or bassinet. The Moro reflex happens also when your baby is sleeping, like this, or like on the camera, and then all of a sudden they're going through another stage of sleep. There's 4 stages of sleep that they have to pass through, right, from lightest to deepest. So when they're passing through those stages of sleep, sometimes they can feel like they're falling backwards. So they will startle themselves. If you've ever seen that happen before to babies, startle themselves, and then they startle themselves awake. So you want to have a baby in a swaddle. Now, the arms down swaddle will also calm that Moro reflex. However, the arms up swaddle is more widely accepted by all newborns. Why? Because it keeps baby in that position that they are in the womb. In the womb, they're like this, and they have access to soothing in their hands. I don't know if you've ever read about how they are actually sucking their thumb and their fingers in the womb. They want to continue to be able to do that, in the real world, and they can actually do that through this material. So that's okay. So they're going to be, finding their hands and, rubbing their face. That really calms them down, or, itching an itch to be able to do that. Imagine not being able to itch, if your arms are stuck to your sides. And then they're going to be able to sleep in that arms up position, which cues to their brain that they're in the safest position for sleep, because this helps to prevent accidental rolling over. Okay. So that's why it is a very common reflex for lots of babies and toddlers to sleep in this position. They're also very flexible, so it's more comfortable for them than it is for us. It is a safety position for them. So they actually really want to sleep with their arms up. So if you've ever heard about those Houdini babies who try and break out of swaddles, they're doing it because they want access. They want their hands. So this specific format of swaddle, the arms up swaddle, is really going to help your child feel safe and secure, which means longer stretches of sleep, which means a more well-rested child, and a more well-rested child takes sleep much better. So they accept sleep much better. So it's easier to get them down the next time. You won't have to rock them incessantly for hours and hours, type of thing. Question: how can you break the habit of thumb sucking? Oh, Genesis, come back to my booth. Come back to my booth. That's a long answer, okay? But don't worry, there absolutely are ways, and they're not horrible ways, and you don't have to do some of the things that you might have heard out there. Sucking the thumb at this age is totally fine. One of the best tips as well in my download is a pacifier that helps to that helps to reduce the risk of SIDS when the baby is constantly sucking on something. They won't, FYI, they won't be able to actually suck their thumb until closer to around 3 or 4 months. And they usually start sucking their fist first. Okay. They're not really dexterous in the beginning. So they might by accident find their fingers, but they won't be able to intentionally find them till later. So it really is important for you to offer the pacifier. If they don't like it in the beginning, just keep offering it once a day, every day. Talk to your lactation consultant if you're worried. They're going to be able to give you much better information on when and how to introduce that pacifier, if there are any kind of tongue tie risks or feeding risks or anything like that. But the pacifier is an awesome way to not only help your baby get more sleep because it activates that sucking, that calming reflex, but it also it helps to reduce the risk of SIDS by keeping that brain and that body kind of communicating with each other. All right. I am so excited to share more with you in our booth. Please come to the Sleep of Mind booth. We will keep this conversation going. I'm there for the next 2 hours, so I can absolutely answer all of your questions. You're also going to get 20% off of any one of our products. We've got swaddles. We also have, as you can see kind of behind me, we also have sleep sacks. So when your baby transitions from the swaddle, we've got sleep sacks as well that have the same design. And yeah, 20% off just for Prego Expo folks, for these few days. You're also going to win a free sleep consultation with me if you are the 12th person to comment your baby's due date or your current child's age when you join us in that booth. So please head on over. I'm going to head over there in about 5 minutes. I will see everyone there, and I promise I will get to all of your questions.